Hi everyone, today's video is about the Otocinclus tank, which we looked at a little bit in the last video. Here's what it looks like today after a water change. I got this tank to use up some of the extra equipment I had lying around, especially this Twin Star A series light that was being used on the beta Fluval spec tank. See, the previous owner of the beta tank was using CO2, so he needed a really strong light. He upgraded from Fluval's spec light to this Twin Star light. However, the spec light was all I needed for what I was doing with the beta tank. This new 10-gallon tank comes from a Taiwanese company. I think it's the same as the Dennerle Escapers tank you can find in Europe. Initially, I used it as a plant holding tank for Ludwigia arcuata outgrowing the Waigiensis bowl. The colors on the Ludwigia showed up so beautifully underwater. I also have narrow leaf Java fern and Brazilian pennywort that I got from a friend who didn't want them. And I picked up 10 orange neocaridina shrimp from a local breeder. Since the light was so strong, I knew I needed to add some algae eaters. As with all my tanks, I added nerite snails and Amano shrimp. The local store had these great red racer nerites in stock, so I grabbed 2 of them, as well as 2 Clithon corona, my favorites. And this doesn't happen often, but I captured a moment when the Amano shrimp was helping clean off the red racer nerite's shell. It's something you just really love to see. Despite all the algae eaters, within a few weeks the tank was blanketed by this greenish-brown algae. This wasn't unexpected, as that's what people say will happen if you use really bright lights in a low-tech system. This algae wasn't just your typical diatom phase, but something much stronger. And although the nerites seemed to help a little bit, they couldn't keep it under control all by themselves. So I went to the fish store and I picked up some Otocinclus catfish, which you can see that I'm drip acclimating here. It's important to drip acclimate Otocinclus as they can be sensitive in the beginning. I also got some potted Anubias in 2 types, Anubias nana and Anubias nana petite. The plants are in, the fish are still drip acclimating, but everything looks pretty good despite a lot of algae. And we can go day by day and see how the Otocinclus helped clean up everything. The Otos did really well cleaning off the glass and all the plants, and things continue to go like this in a stable state for quite a few months. It was a joy to watch the tank at this time, as things were growing like this water lily bulb just sprouting, and here's what the tank looked like during its stable phase. One day I noticed the tank had just a slight cloudiness, and I thought maybe it's something on the glass, or maybe it's just, a little bit of food in the water or something, but day after day it kept on getting worse and worse, until it acquired this scary shade of green. It's caused by a type of algae, and I tried adding new filters, new filter media, some Flourish Excel, but nothing was helping. Water changes just made everything worse. Desperate for a solution, I added this green killing machine UV sterilizer. It's a really bulky piece of equipment, but look at these pictures and you can see just how quickly it starts to work and clarify the water. This was the state of the tank a few weeks ago, as we saw in the last video. The fish are really fun to watch, more fun than you might expect for being, just kind of bland algae eaters. They like to gather around together in groups, sometimes go off on their own, and they're kind of cute. The tank was starting to get some bad hair algae, as well as this other fuzzy algae, which kind of invades a lot of my tanks, but I wasn't really that worried about it. And here it was displayed kind of at the end of a maintenance cycle, so a water change hadn't been done in quite a few weeks. Back from vacation, here's the tank from today after the water change. The Otos are doing really well, just kind of chilling out here. And here's one of the orange neocaridina shrimp on the filter. doesn't really do that a lot. I'm not sure what it's doing. I think it's just eating some debris from there. The plants are looking really healthy. Love these nice orange growing tips. Oh, and there's a little Amano shrimp swimming by. Yeah, it's just really fun to watch everything. Feeding this tank is kind of cool too. I don't feed any flakes or pellets or typical fish food, but here you can see the shrimps are enjoying a little bit of algae wafers, and the autos like it too, although it took them a few weeks to get used to it. More than that, they like fresh vegetables. Here's a little piece of cucumber. It's been blanched for about 10 minutes, and the autos and shrimp are snacking on it. But the favorite has got to be spinach. They eat spinach at all hours of the day, including at night, and I feed it about twice a week, and it's just definitely their favorite food. Blanch it for about 5 minutes until it sinks, squeeze out all the air bubbles, and they just really love it. Now I want to show you guys how all the plants are doing. The Ludwigia arcuata is growing really tall. For some reason it's growing more on the right side than the left side. But the tips are looking nice and bright pink/orange. I really like this color, and it's something you don't really get in the wabi crucible or growing it immersed. Down here we can see the Anubias plants are doing pretty well, have a little bit of that staghorn algae. And zooming out, Staurogyne is growing and spreading. All of the Staurogyne just came from one packet from PetSmart. It's a good place to look for Staurogyne repens. They just call it repens there. And inside this little nook, you can see the water lily. It's got nice big leaves, but they're kind of staying low, really low to the ground. And the Christmas moss is growing fine, even though it doesn't get that much light. A big part of it is hidden underneath the wood piece. And yeah, this is some Downoi Pogostemon helferi, and it's growing really well too. The hydrocotals all got buried underneath the Pogostemon helferi. I guess they just got outcompeted. Here we're going to take a look at the Java fern. That right there is a piece of spinach, but on the left, attached to the wood, you can see the Java fern. There's only a few of the original big leaves left, and all of those are just plantlets. Oh look, here's a shrimp zooming by. Yeah, that was kind of funny. And here's a little school of autos coming to say hello. This tank is just really a joy to watch. It looks so great in person. I think that the camera doesn't really pick up the extent of those oranges and pinks. But if you've ever had a plant like Rotala atra or this Ludwigia arcuata, maybe you can recognize some of that color. I'm thinking about adding a few more fish, primarily because the tank has a lot of these tiny crustaceans, copepods I think, and I just think it's a more natural, balanced system if there's something that eats the copepods and, you know, whole circle of life. But I'm thinking about getting pygmy corydorus, but as we'll see it in a future video, there's actually a really sad story about pygmy corys in this tank. Until next time, take care.